Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. Hi, Jed. Welcome in. Let me make sure y'all can hear Kit before anything else.
Howdy, y'all.
Y'all
How's it
should be
going?
able to. Yep, looks like it works. Okay, great. Well, before we start, the usual. Let me get the music a little bit lower so I can actually hear myself. Alright. Welcome, traveler, to the Worldbuilders Lantern, where ideas spark, worlds ignite, and every tale light- lights the way. I'm Alf, and I'll be joined by my co host, Kitsune Noble, as we'll be guiding you through myths, maps, monsters, and mysteries. Each week, we gather around the flame to craft stories, build universes, and share the secrets of storytelling, from Dungeons and Dragons to original worlds beyond the veil. So grab your journal, light your lantern, and join us at the edge of imagination. The flame is lit, and the world is waiting. And I think I might have a very good question to start the week off with.
Oh, yeah.
What is your favorite fantasy trope? As in fantasy trope, let me first iron out what I mean by that. Also, hi man, hi Manina. I was gonna go man in a bear suit. Yeah, doesn't even feel correct. Um, by fantasy trope, I mean more so than a trope, a fancy archetype like steampunk, cyberpunk, um, olden fantasy, stuff like that. Hi Psycho, welcome in.
Uh, what would be my favorite? I just like standard old fantasy, but I think I like a little bit of it's high magic with magic tech. I think is my favorite.
Gotcha.
Um, just because it plays with ideas that are unstandard in the regular world, but is standard in these types of worlds. So I enjoy them. How different societies are created through easy usage of magical means via through knowledge itself or through tools that allows one to do it. I think it's just my favorite. You'll see that a lot in the worlds I make.
Gotcha. Uh, I think for me it is very close between high magic to kind of like almost modernized society, to just steampunk in aesthetics, because how do I even explain this? So, for example, Fairy Tale, the anime.
Yep,
I don't know if you watched this. I don't know
I
how
have, yes.
it the world itself is so close to what my ideal fantasy world is in terms of how it is developed technologically, because magic, while available and while common enough for there to be guilds of people using magic, it is still not like mainstream esque in the forms of like it's not in every civilian's hands. So technology has also developed a certain extent alongside society. So it's always fun seeing that juncture um,
Yeah.
engage with each other. Steampunk, I don't think I have to say too much about steampunk. I,
Just a cool aesthetic.
yeah, like everyone who knows me knows I like steampunk. It's just I wish we lived in a steampunk world, man. It'd be so fun.
Yeah, do
Yeah,
you?
yeah. No fossil fuels, just steam. I don't know where the steam's coming from. Don't worry about it. Um,
I mean, from burning
yeah, I know.
water.
Well, yeah, but there are some concepts of steampunk where they show it as like also burning of fossil fuels and etc. And I'm just like, I don't know which one to
Well,
take as
it's
the
got to
main
be
one.
done from a generated heat, so.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Let me check my questions. I have a couple written down here.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh. Okay, so this is something I've been really getting in. Hi, Braddock. I've been really getting into when trying to explain scenes. I don't know how much I was able to showcase it in our previous session, but trying to really get your sensory organs feel like they're working as I'm explaining the world. What you're seeing, the tremors you feel on the ground as you step through, every single thing is just like I want you to really feel everything. So one of the biggest things I've seen is this is while I was looking at like some DM tips. Smell is really easy to explain, and when you do, surprisingly the brain really kind of latches onto it really easily. Like the smell of salt and smoke, giving a more desert kingdom-esque vibe, or like a lavender smell following ink gives like a bookshop or a library vibe. Alongside that, being able to explain how light is hitting certain objects that you're looking at, getting the image and like all your other sensory into the world, I feel like has been one of my goals, what I'm trying to do as a DM when I'm like explaining scenes now, because I feel like that really pushes more so than the player their character into the world more, and they're able to really homogenize with that character and play as if they're that character a little bit more, even if they're like brand new. So continuing from that, what are like your small DM tips when you're kind of like explaining a scene or doing something that what are the small tips and tricks that you use to push the player character more into the world?
Let me think about this. What I would do when explaining the scene. I guess when I explain a scene, rather than focusing on senses, I focus on the vibe of what's around you, which sometimes enhances the senses, but you'll usually find it when I describe villages or towns you go to. It would be what the people are doing, what the people you see, and what's going about. Describing like small scenarios that are going around you as you enter a new area, as that sets the vibe of the city, or the village, or wherever. If it's a lazy day, people are just going about their jobs. The same old people in the same old marketplace doing the same old things. Or if it's a bustling city, the marketplace is bustling, there's kids in the streets chasing after each other, one with a kite. Where you see a caravan pulling in from a merchant who's outside of town, talking with some other stall vendors, and you can't quite make out the words. Things that set the vibes for the scene you're trying to evoke into the minds of your players. It is what I like to do. Because over like I don't know, players feeling like they're there. I want players to feel like they understand what is happening around them. Like, they get like the right idea of things. Like, if something is too serious, or if something is more lighthearted, if something is busy, if something's lazy, if there's a tension in the air, which is what I do. True, I also do that a lot. There's always somebody arguing in the marketplace.
Hey, come on, that potion, 50 gold's too much, man. Come on, we can work it out. 40's fine. Come on. Yeah, I feel that. I feel that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, while trying to get the character in, while focusing on the senses is, yes, something I have been trying to attempt to do. Scene descriptions are 100% more important. Yeah. Because
I mean,
it
I'm not
doesn't.
going to say it's more important. I don't know what is more important. I think they're all valuable ways to describe something.
Well,
It's
I
just
mean-
when I do it, my default is describing the small scenes you see around you to help portray the mood.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
No, 100%. But like, it doesn't matter how much I can put your character into that world if your character has no idea what is going on around them. So, I feel like setting the scene is also just as, if not more, important. Also, Manina, no, I have never played Wrath of Glory, the 40k TTRPG. It is my first time actually hearing about it, believe it or not. I am playing in an Age of Sigmar D&D campaign, but never played 40k. Don't know too much about Warhammer lore, to be honest. Learning a lot through Age of Sigmar. It is exciting and really fun, and I played normal 40k. Kit knows this. I believe Kit also played 40k.
Big into 40k.
Yep. But like, my knowledge on 40k is so lacking that it's not even funny. I wish I knew more. And playing through Age of Sigmar and learning the lore has been really enlightening. I'll say that. It's been really fun learning more.
Yeah. There's like three. So I have heard of Wrath of Glory. There's three things that sort of keep me from diving into it. One, mechanical systems themselves don't grab me from what I've seen of it. It is just like the setting and a way to play in the 40k universe. The second reason is being like a person, just a person in the 40k universe does not sound fun. Sorry.
Ooh, yeah.
And if it is fun, it's kind of like against what 40k is really super about, especially if you're playing with other people, because then it's like you're playing like the four most ultimate people, I guess, if you're actually able to do interesting stuff. Because unless like you're all like Primarchs or like something around that level, things are going to be difficult for you. But there is stuff, but like if we think of like Vermintide or Dark Tide, those games like where you are just like a soldier, it's rather than like TTRPG stuff, I'd rather do like more actiony based stuff where like you're just a regular army versus a horde army kind of scenario, like a regular unit. And then the third reason is if I do get a bunch of people to play like a 40k based thing, I kind of just want to play 40k. Like, I'm sure it's good, but like, it is so hard to like get people to play 40k anyways. If we're getting people to play like a 40k themed thing, I'm just like, can we just not play 40k, please, guys, please?
Well,
I got my custodies.
yeah,
Come on.
That's what I was gonna say. I think the biggest how do I say this? The biggest thing stopping people from playing 40k is the minis.
Oh, fuck it. We can just play on tabletop sim. I don't mind. In fact, I know like huge like sites and programs to really streamline the army building process, to like really just help build the army.
You want to play 40k sometime?
Of course, if we like can, find the time for a 4-hour game.
Yeah, 4 hours is something.
Yeah,
Also,
that's the thing. It's why you usually do play D&D over 40k, because like,
you can do 3 hours of D&D.
yeah, it's also like, you can do more in D&D, because like it's just like a turn-based. It's like playing a Fire Emblem level for like 4 hours against another person. Like, you got to be really into it if you want it. That's why I do think like the minis themselves and actually like being in person helps with that.
Oh yeah,
rather than just being online.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Also, Braddock, blood for the blood god.
Skulls for the skull throne, my guy.
Or
as my saying goes, souls for the golden throne.
Yeah, honestly.
Imperium of man for life. And then maybe orcs. Everyone's got the pocket orcs. That's just how it works. I don't make the rules.
Dude, orc magic is something. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, Spitzel's nice. Love us some Valhalla, guys.
See, Braddock, I'm not surprised you prefer orcs overall. Like, I know you as a person, so this does not shock me in the slightest.
Oh, if anyone knows 10th edition Valhalla, I haven't looked at 10th edition orcs yet, because it's like my fucking quartiary army. Like, it's... I ain't working on orcs. Did they quote-unquote fix DACA again? Because it was like,
What do you
in
mean?
8th, it was too random but funny. In 9th, they fixed the randomness, but it was no longer funny. What is it like in 10th?
Good question, actually.
Anyways, I'll either look that up later, or someone will let me know in chat. Yeah, it's another 40k. D&D, what are we talking about?
Last we were talking about kind of like how we describe scenes to get players really into that scene. Going back to like the core themes.
Oh, is my mic too loud? Let me put it a little bit away from my face. Is it?
You can do
better?
as you usually do, and I can just speak now.
Howdy. Test.
Yeah, it's more similar to mine now. Finals. You're kidding!
Go for
Me lost? I'm not surprised Atif won against Edge with Anna, but I was like, Anna's hyper aggressive and Nee is playing Brian, which is a counter-hit character, so Nee should be able to... I was hoping Nee would be able to take... Oh my, wait, is this gonna be Atif's first big win? Oh, that's gonna be fun. Okay. Going back to the core themes, we were talking about steampunk, we were talking about high fantasy. So this might be... This is a question that I have because I've been watching a lot of D&D streams, reading a couple books. Also, Daggerheart just came out, and Age of Umbra is a thing. Why are so many campaigns and like fantasy stories starting after a fall? Like, is it just ruins being like a big thing that everyone's like, oh, this is easy, and ruins kind of invite adventure? Or does it have to do with, is it easier building world building after a cataclysm? Because, like, don't get me wrong, Karael also has ruins. A lot of big events happened. And And funnily enough, the world that you're playing right now is a world after a really big event that led to the Dark Ages. And it has its own troubles, but like I'm seeing it in a lot of other places as well, and I'm just wondering, like, why do we love these ruins and collapse stories a lot? That everyone's doing them and everyone's enjoying watching them too.
I wouldn't call it like a crutch, but it is some easier storytelling in terms of an overall world. It is a reset, so to speak, of the norm. So after a cataclysm, things have returned to a sense of normalcy that the players can experience. But then there is the backdrop of this big event that all the players then know about because they've read up on the backstory of such an event. That can peek through and sort of challenge this new normalcy, which is it's hard to say like easy because I feel like that's like it's like the cop out thing, just do it like that. But it's like it's a very simple, and it always feels more negative than I like want it to be because it's like not bad.
Well, we talked about this before. What's it called? Things that are common and used a lot. I'm looking for the word for it.
I know what to say. I'll say efficient. It's a very efficient way to run a game.
Mm-hmm.
You have a standard quo.
Yes.
Or status quo. That's there we go. Have a status quo, and then have that status quo be challenged, but not have it be from out of nowhere. Like the players will be able to understand why it's being challenged and such. Because if you're just in like a village with or like, you know, it's a standard fantasy city with nothing, and then the status quo is being challenged by an evil wizard, it's fine and all, but it's a little too unnuanced, you know? Standard good versus evil. Whereas in the other one, it could still be just standard good versus evil, but you at least know where that thing is coming from. Either it could be like, I don't know, something else, not the right word, but like understandable, where it's like maybe someone who was from this pre-cataclysm, this old time, wants to return there, but in doing so ruins the new things that is built up. Or it could still just be an evil guy who lost their power from the cataclysm and they're just building it back up again to do what they were doing before the cataclysm happened, which is still evil, but at least, you know, easy to understand for the players. You don't need this like huge monologue. It can be explained in like a sentence. Which is why I think it's efficient story writing. It allows for conflict, challenges, and, you know, events to happen that the DM can draw from, that the players have an understanding of as well. If I were to like, this is only for you, Alf, because only you really know it, but if I were to give my own world for our little thing, there is no big cataclysm thing. It's just a regular standard world, or at least none that you know of. I know of a few, but like it's unimportant for players to know, and also mysterious. So like the conflicts there would be like more political and stuff like that, things that are, because this is like a new town you're starting in, a new basically country, and it might feel pressure from the other ones, but like I'm not going to do that for the main story of the campaign, because that's not terribly interesting, I think, for how I would want to play with the current people that are playing. It might get there eventually, but
not at this current moment. Yeah.
Nope, not at all.
So
that's my take, by the way. That's also like tinfoil hat thing. Like, it also could just be like, people do like ruins. Like, why are there dungeons for people to explore? Because these were places, and then a cataclysm happened, and now they're dungeons.
Yes.
Blah blah blah.
Yes. Well, what I was gonna say was I found the word that I was looking for. Tropes that have become more formulaic, more cliche, are cliche for a reason. Being cliche isn't necessarily bad because something cliche is, while overused and maybe seen as unoriginal, is still very effective. And if the effect is there, you'd use it, right?
Yeah. Oh, speaking of, I
Mhm.
do want to say for like tropes and cliches and stuff, because some people like them, some people don't. Here's Kit Story Writing 101, which sounds like uh, an obvious thing, and it's only like one sentence, and it's not actually helpful. But if you're ever overthinking things, if you ever think like something needs something more, here's the number one tip. Twists don't make a good story. Subvergence don't make a good story. Good stories make a good story. Don't feel like you need to do subvert expectations for a trope, or have some sort of twist, or need something to be darker and edgier. It's fine if it's just like the most bog standard story in the universe. Because if it's good, it's good. If it's sincere, it's good.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's all you need.
Yeah, like, uh, one of the biggest things I can say is you can make good twists. That being said, if you show me that this guy is the bad guy for like 90% of the campaign, and suddenly make the BBEG the shop that I'm going to for the entirety of the campaign, and not that big bad evil guy that I've been chasing for the 90% of the campaign, we might have to talk. I might enjoy it if you do it good, but if you do it mediocrely, we might have issues. Um, because I have seen people try to do that, and I've seen people fail horribly. And I mean,
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you also
mm,
shouldn't be too hard on them. How it is that you get good at writing stories by writing bad stories.
yes, this is very true. By God, Kit knows that better than I do since Kit plays in my campaigns. You get good by first throwing out filth. If you don't throw out the filth, you'll never have a clean study space. That's how I like to look at it. All your bad stories is just you cleaning out everything for you to write a clean and good story. That's basically it.
Even then, I will say that the words I'm using, like write a story, write uplink, that's like super high concept, like actual in terms of story writing, which does have its elements in uh, DMing and creating a D&D campaign. But once again, the stories and everything, sometimes it's just dumb fun that people like.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
Play D&D with friends, throw elements you like at them and see what sticks, and focus on the stuff that works. That's the trick to being like a good memorable DM for people.
Yep.
Just do the things you think is cool and they would like, and then if stuff sticks, focus on that.
Yep.
There you go. That's like the cheat code.
100%. 100%. Also, Manina, I just looked at it. Did you paint that yourself? That looks amazing. Genuinely. That looks so good.
We love our space wolves.
Mhm, mhm. Right. Any topics you'd like to delve into this week?
Uh, let's see. A couple of small ones and kind of a big one I want to bring up, but we'll do the big one for later. The first one I just simply want to ask. Uh, we talk about like this high concept. Let's like bring it down a bit. And just ask a simple thing. How do you go ahead and make a town slash village? Place where people gather. What is your process of making a place like, a place people live?
Okay. So am I starting out from the town, or am I putting a town into a country that I've already made?
Everything. Just
Okay.
how would you go about it?
So, okay, I'm gonna give two very separate answers because I have two different ways I have done it before, and I don't know if I have a favorite way yet. For a country that I've already set out into the world and a world already made with its own politics and everything, the big thing I like to do is what is the purpose of this village? Um, or if town, realistically, what's the purpose of this town? If it's a village, I'm more free with it. Um, just put a couple NPCs in if I want to, and if it's gonna be something, if I want the village to have any sort of importance, write those parts in. For example, let's go to the Riftwalkers campaign real quick. So rifts are like a really big thing, right? Maybe answer, okay, how has a nearby rift affected this village? And then from there, when I find out how it has affected the village, then I'll put in the NPCs. I'll put in their stories accordingly. I usually like to really build out my NPCs, their families, who they are, what they've done, what their characters are like, some main characteristics, etc., etc. For a preset world, that's what I like to do. For if I'm just creating a village, and you know what, this is a brand new world. I don't even know what's in the world. We're starting out in this starter village. Okay, what do we want? Well, if we're starting out in the starter village, in my head, I'm gonna do this real quick. In my head, we're starting out around level 1 or level 3, so nothing big. Make a tavern, a couple houses, a house for the village chief. Does the village have walls? Make that in my mind first. I'm gonna go with yes for this one. What is close to this village? Is it a river, a forest, both possibly? I'm gonna say no to river. I'm gonna say yes, there's a forest nearby. If there's a forest nearby, I'm gonna say there is a log cabin and a I don't know what the profession's name is for woodcutters. I'm not talking about
Lumberjack.
carpenters. Thank you. Make a lumberjack's cabin in the village. Okay, now we got that. The adventurers are starting out here. Okay, so what is the main issue? There could be a couple things. Is there a goblin camp nearby in the forest that is causing troubles for these villagers? I'm gonna say possibly, depending on what the party's looking like. Oh, the party's not really big into, or even simpler. Oh, the party has a goblin? No, I don't want to make them fight other goblins. That sounds wrong in my head. Well, these goblins could be bandits. Okay, now we switch over to bandits. Is there bandits hideout in the forest? I'm gonna say yes. Bandits are causing troubles near this village. Okay, so bandits are stealing from this village. The bandits are in the forest. There's a small wall around this village. There's a lumberjack, there's a tavern, there's a village chief house. Let's put in the good old church, because why not? And then there's probably farms in this village. Let's say that what the bandits are stealing are money that the incoming merchants are going to be paying for crops from this village. Now there's a reason to take care of the bandits. And you can pay for this quest. It can either be the village chief, or it can even just be the merchants who just came in and are like, okay, they took all our money. We still need our money to buy these crops to go to this other place. So, hey, young adventurers, we would like to hire you. If you get all our money back to us, we will give you a certain percentage of our money. And we heard you need a ride to the nearby city. And you can hop on our cart and we will go to the nearby city. So now the story has a way it's going. I'm going to have to build a city soon. We have built the first quest for these adventures. And we have a couple NPCs that they can talk to, learn how the bandits attacking the village are affecting them. So that is a very on-hand showing of how I build stuff.
Nice. And this will flow into the next one because you mentioned it earlier, but so that's how you make your sort of towns, your villages. Then what is the process for you for making NPCs?
So NPCs, my first thing is, where do they live, right? Let's go back to the town I just built, right? There is a lumberjack. Okay, does this lumberjack have a family? I'm gonna say yes. Does this lumberjack have children? I'm gonna say yes. Does the lumberjack's mother and father live in this village? I'm gonna say no to that. Okay, is the lumberjack's wife still with him? I'm gonna say no, but I'm not gonna say they are separated. I'm gonna say, you know what? The wife has passed away due to sickness that wasn't able to be cured because of the stealing of these merchant supplies. As such, the lumberjack's wife has passed recently, and the lumberjack is now left with his children and is a single father trying to take care of them. Okay, so this lumberjack has recently lost a wife. He would be a little bit depressed. By a little bit, I mean a lot of bit depressed, but also trying to hold himself together because he's still a father and has to take care of his children. So I try to show the depression and the challenges he's facing in a way that isn't him outwardly going drunk, becoming any sort of like an abusive father or just a douchebag in general, because he still has to take care of the kids. He loves his kids. His kids are the last thing left behind by the love of his life. So the lumberjack in my head has now become a depressed but caring man trying to move forward through a very traumatic event that has happened, and this event also ties into the quest that I have just created.
Interesting. And so that's like the process for all the NPCs you create.
Not all of, like, I don't tie all of them into the story, into the quest, but for me, a lot of it is how old are they? Do they have a family? What's their characteristics like? What have they done before? How does the village see them? How do they act towards those that are close to them? Those are kind of the main things I lay out, and that's basically my NPC right there.
I see.
What about you? How do you create your NPCs?
Oh, right. Well, I think I should start with how I make my towns first, right?
Yes, actually, yeah. Please do.
Because I don't think I answered that one yet.
Oh, no.
Well, first I start with the major towns for the world I'm building. Things where I can say like, if a player, says like, do I know a place that has blank, I will say yes, because like it's well known throughout the region, which is capitals and places of importance. Starting with capital, this one's a bit of an easy one. It would be why such a country was formed in the first place. And so that will dictate what the capital looks like and where it is. A standard monarchy just in the middle of a country will just have a standard castle town, maybe quite a large castle in the center if it's a historic family that's been around for a while. And then just, a city that sort of builds itself around that. Kingdoms that have came through history and age alone. A country that came up through maybe something like a rebellion of sorts, or a breaking off of another, or even just refugees in a new place, newly formed countries, will have smaller towns. The quote-unquote king of the capital of the country in the capital may have a house that's only as big as a mansion, rather than a proper castle, and it reflects with the surrounding villages. Of course, most capitals have all sorts of amenities. Craftsmen flock there, and traders tend to go there a lot too. So there's my capitals usually tend to be well-rounded in terms of things like that. Although there's some things where I guess from this point I'll differentiate from the straight up capital to like other types of major cities or villages in a region that could also be the capital if that's how it was formed. For one, the good old coastal port
Yes.
would like 100% be the trade type. Probably a lot less crafters, although still a few, but more so just shopkeepers with imported goods trying to sell their wares, or get their wares onto a caravan to move it throughout the region that they sail to. Things are, despite being a large city, things will tend to be dirtier, grittier, sweatier with all the sailors and workmen. Even if it is a capital city, mannerisms and the like will be a little bit less strict, a little laxer, and a little bit more rude, to be honest. To describe the people there, the woman just a little bit more sassy, the men a little bit more burly, children working at younger ages, just because the work is needed and the work is there. And it would also probably be like richer than most areas, even if it isn't the capital, because that's just how it is.
Yep.
And then you can play with things from there, like, is there a what was I going to say? Is there tension between like the actual capital and this port city, because the port city just makes so much money? Is the capital spiteful and thus taxes the port city more, and the things are rising, or are like the main family, I'd say like the family who runs the biggest shipping business and thus quote unquote controls the town, are they like on good terms with the royal family, that kind of stuff? And speaking of families, like sometimes cities just don't have good people.
Yeah.
Is there an underground to it? Is the whole city a front and the Thieves Guild runs things from below? Or do they just have enough nobles in their pockets to just have decent enough hideaways, secrets enough that's the bustling city overhead won't even know their presence?
Or even
It's a little bit less in how the city is made, but just that's a little bit more lore focused if you want that to be there. But do understand how that does affect how the city functions, because
100%.
thieves are a part of it too.
100%.
Technically
It
speaking.
could be something like they're also paying the nobles enough where they don't have to hide and they can just do what they do in the open.
Yeah. A truly dark city.
Yep.
And then there's things like if you want if there is a magical city, usually for me it would be either a wizard lived there and people went to him and built around that, or it was where an academy was and people built around that. Um, Once again, this could be the capital too if it's a more magical country or magically inclined country, but usually these tend to be fantastical cities. Quote unquote modern amenities are more common because it's supplied through magic, street lights, vehicles even to an extent,
Or
stuff
even
like
like
that.
stuff similar to cell phones and like crystals.
Yes, yes, yes. Quote unquote landlines, where it's like, a
Yep,
network of crystals that allow you to connect with other people.
yep.
Things like that. Just to make these things more interesting and big so that, like, if a character is a wizard, if a player is a wizard, yes, they've heard of that. If a player, like, is a part of, like, a merchant family, they would know of the coastal city and, like, the workings there. And of course, the player doesn't need to know it exactly, but, like, if they ever ask, would my character know something, you can be like, yes, and here's what you would know, and just, like, sort of give them, like, buffs even if they don't know it, like in the coastal city, or we'll say, like, in the dark city,
Yes.
the street rat character, the DM will say, you know this city, you can take the party through the back alleyways to get where you need to without drawing attention to yourselves, things like that. um, Things where, like, your characters would know stuff and thus be able to interact with these cities in meaningful ways. So yeah, there's that. There's the Magic City. There's the city with, like, a big import. Like, if there's, like, a huge mine there, then, like, a city can be built around there. And then just random stuff like, did a rebellion happen here, and thus, like, a new thing was, like, more land was claimed, and now there's, like, a new city in this part, or was taken from an existing country. Those are a bit setting specific, but it's gotta think, like, how the city existing in your world, how it came to be through the country it was in, how that affects the build of the city and how it was made. And that's how I build cities, so to speak. I went through it a lot, but it's usually like 2 to 3 per country. And like, you can think of the other ones later if the main
Yeah,
part of the
100%.
story is just going to take place in one country. For villages, they are Schrodinger's villages. They only exist theoretically until the players go to them. Because it's like, yes, there are farming villages, there are mining villages for big countries, that's how they get their shit. I don't need to know the inner workings, the players don't care about the inner workings of those villages. When they go to those villages, then sure, that's when I make it, and I make it very simple, because it doesn't need to be super in-depth, unless there is, like, an in-depth thing there, which I'll get to in just a moment. I will say the general rule of thumb is, and this is just for, once again, efficient writing, but for the most part, you can say a village will be a day's away from the capital, on a sprinting horse, because that is how people get important information from place to place. And so that's just how I would, like, place it around. If you're on, like, a fast horse, within a day you'll get to the next village. If the village there is just for travel, like the players are at the capital and they're going to the port town, and there's a long ways to go, and they're going to pass through a couple of villages, they're just going to be what is around. If it's just plains, it's a farming village. If there's a forest, lumbering, as well as hunting. If it's near mountains, then mining is the obvious ones. And of course, you can, like, throw in some things that you feel is cool. They don't have to be necessary, they can just be cool. Like, there is a winery in the village, a very famous one, so they grow primarily grapes there and things like that. Or, like, spices specifically being created within this village. Or it's just a weird village where all the crafters are there, like a really famous leather worker decided to hunker down in his hometown. And so this hunting village is also well known for leather workings. I rarely do this unless I'll actually get to that in just a moment. But it's usually just like a nice, cozy place. Doesn't need to be cozy, but just a place that is believable to exist. The players can go to, because not every village has like major events or drama or bandits or something.
Oh yeah.
It's just a place, and a little bit of things I found when there's like an event going on in every village. It sort of takes me out of it.
Yeah.
It's like, damn, this is like a crazy world.
Yeah, like sometimes you just need to chill. Like,
Yeah.
things not go haywire constantly.
It doesn't even need to be like a relaxing vibe. It's just a boring village that your players are passing through.
Exactly.
And yeah. And then of course, if you do want just a little bit of spice, no like drama, no nothing, you can just do like, there is a winery here. There is the famous leather worker here. Just to add a little bit of pizzazz, if you just care for it. Usually it's like if the players are the talkative sorts, the sorts to just walk around and get to know the world a little bit. Because like it's not just like the players themselves getting to know the world, like the characters themselves are like going to a new village, and thus they would ask things too because they're naturally curious. I'll add the pizzazz. If the players are just want to kick someone's ass at the port city, it'll just be like, you know, you stop here for the night, talk a little bit with the innkeeper, and then move on because they're just ready to kick some ass.
Yep.
All depends really. For just like the added bonus to villages, because I put a pin on some things, it would usually be if during long distance travel, it would be too repetitive for if you're like just passing through 5 villages and all of them are just boring. Yeah. I would add like something like you would, if you are known adventurers or you just look the type because you're wearing armors and stuff, someone may come to you for a request to help them out. And once again, if they're just ready to kick some ass, they'll probably like not bother and just go kick the ass that they're going for. But if they're just like want to go from the capital of one country to the capital of another country, just maybe there's like they need to be there within a month, or like a player just wants to get there eventually because they've always wanted to go there, or they have family there or something, and it's not super urgent, then they probably will like take up the quest, especially if you give them like, you know, the regular incentives, usually gold, sometimes other stuff.
Yep. Or it can be even something simpler, whereas like just a bunch of drunkards picking a fight for no reason.
That is true too, but that goes a bit more into the NPC making.
Yeah.
This is for more of like the events that would go on in the village, and then you can once again, when I make something like this, a village like this, I don't care much for the believability of things. Like if it is just bandits or a monster in the village, I go for the cool factor. I want it to be interesting. It's not just like the reward for the characters to help out, but a reward for the players because like, damn, that was cool. Yep. Kind of thing. Yep. Like sometimes it is like a frost troll has made its place nearby, like an exotic creature, or like a bandit gang from a nearby mountain whose leader is a red dragon who lives in that mountain. Really fun stuff to do for when your players come back from their trip to the other country and go back to the regular original country, to see like, well, you stopped the bandits, but then the red dragon came down. That's where I get into the interesting stuff. The things that is interesting, which is what I prefer more over like drama or like realistic setting of stuff, is like, it's interesting.
Yeah,
for that to happen.
That is very true. Also, hi SK. And also, Kid
hello SK,
Saune.
thank you for stopping by.
Kid Saune.
Yes, that is me, the Kid Saune. But yes, just for the recap, I always start with the villages, or sorry, the big cities that the characters would know about. So I want to be like sort of in the know of like what goes on in those cities, and then I just make the villages as they come up. Definitely like before the sessions, you know, like if I planned for the travel session, I would have the villages
Yeah,
made
100%,
beforehand.
100%.
They would just not be made until the players decide to travel. That being said, you know, sometimes you do make the villages during the session because the travel happens on the spot, but it's good to have the streamlined process is what I'll say. You just go for the boring thing, you just go for the cool, insert something here so that something eventful happens during the session.
I think for me, if I'm creating like a town, and like there is even the slightest possibility of any player going, okay, well, I want to go this way, you know, which for me in my head is always just have like one village nearby, just one, and you can put it exactly where the player has decided to go. And that usually kind of saves a little bit. Hi, Bozo. Alright, now you're NPCs.
Yep. NPCs is almost always the same process, although like it's the small NPCs I think has like the most process to it. Once again, it would be like big NPCs that the characters would know, and like I would say to them, you would know this character because of blank, because they're famous, like the king, a famous hero,
Yeah.
blah 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 blah. Maybe something like a dwarf character would know of a famous blacksmith, even if like the other characters wouldn't, kind of thing. And then that one's just simple. It's usually like a big event that is the reason why they're famous, and there you go. I would just create like how I would describe them if the players ever saw them. I would keep that on hand just to get the vibe of the character. Are they regal? Are they surprisingly relaxed? Are they pompous? Are they down? Are they like depressed? Things like that into their description, so that at a glance, when they see this known character, they sort of know the vibe, similar to how I do scenes. Because honestly, like, if it's like a known character in the world and the players meet them, it is a bit of a scene in and of itself.
Yes, 100%.
So I want to have the descriptions, and then just like what they're about, like general motives. It doesn't need to be like they're working on this in exact sentence. Just like you know, what are they about? Is the king corrupt, or are they working on the betterment of their country, or are they just resting on laurels?
Yeah.
Is the archmage of the region, are they eccentric? Are they flighty? Are they a little bit airheaded, or are they like the know-it-all type? Or are they like very so book smart it wraps around to being a little bit naive everywhere else? Those things are they nice or are they mean? It is a very easy one, because knowing their vibe, or getting their vibe known to the players, and then knowing what they're about is what's important to me. Because as the DM, as I'm making these characters at the start, as I'm making this world, I have no clue in the context of what my players will be meeting these characters. So I like to keep it open, just so I know like the exact things. Like if the characters caused a political strife, the king, if they knew about it, first of all, would not be too kind to them. But if they didn't know about it, if they're like the king that is working for the betterment of this country, would be working on the political strife that had just occurred. And you can easily like slot things into that known character, known NPC, as the story progresses with your players. So I keep things loose. I just want to know like create the basics for them. That's what I do. For the lesser known NPCs, they're also kind of Schrodinger's NPCs. They don't exist until I know they're going someplace. And this would be the people I will know they will talk to over the course of the session. We'll take a big village, for example. It's outside of the capital. It's one of the ones that are just a day's away, and because of that, it's bigger, but it's not exactly like a tourist destination. We will say they are traveling through it. I will know always. I will create the inn and the innkeeper because I know they will talk to them, and if I know they will talk to them, I might as well cut myself some slack of creating a character on the spot and create the character beforehand. Let's say there is a world where adventurer guilds exist, or the adventurers guild exists, and a branch exists in this guild. So I'll just have probably not even the branch head made, maybe in my head, but maybe just a receptionist, someone I know they will talk to if they go there. And then if this is a village where there is an event going on that I want my players to experience, then probably like the mayor or whoever runs the city. And that's it. Everything else will be created on the spots as they will occur. As my players tell me, sometimes they're interesting. They don't always need to be, but if I were to go over like the NPC process of creating an NPC on the spots, let's create a scene right now.
Yeah.
The players enter this village, and the first things first, they go to the local inn to get their rooms and housing situation set up for the night, so that they don't need to quickly create a camp outside of the village. I would describe the tavern, which has already been pre-made, as well as the proprietress, which has already been pre-made. And then all of the NPCs will be in that tavern will be made right then and there.
Yes.
And how I would do it, once again, this isn't like how everyone should do it, but this is just like a general rule of thumb. I would do like a ratio of normal, wild kind of thing. Just like 3 normal people there, and 1 or 2 wild cards, as I would say them. So I would describe the normal people first. It would be a big city like this would have guards, so there's 2 guards on their break. If it's late in the night, then they do have the night shift, but they're just on their break right now currently, and they're talking to each other. There would be the local industry workers. I'll say a group of 3 of them, friends chatting loudly at a table. This will be farmers, miners, craftsmen, well, whatever is like the thing. It's usually going to be farmers, because with the direction people usually go somewhere else, it'll be through plains areas. Like I doubt they'll head to the mountains for some sort of long trip. So most likely won't be miners. So farmers usually. And then I'll just add like a woman alone at the counter, having a drink alone, just a villager that is there. And then I'll say the wild cards. If I want to be goofy, it's you know them, you love them. It's the red, white, and blue Dragonborn trio. They're boasting loudly of their accomplishments. And then maybe something that the players might interact with, something that they would know for certain. A hooded elf figure in the corner, with a deck of cards and a crystal ball in front of them. Slowly sipping on a drink throughout the night, scrying through the orb on things the players just can't quite make out. All this created on the spot, and you create the personalities of them as they go to them. And this is just whatever you feel fits the mood, because these are Schrodinger's people. They exist when they need to exist. If they go to the woman at the bar, does she want to be left alone, or is she willing for interaction with another person? Are they friendly guards at the table? Or are they like, you're not from around here kind of thing, like yeah. On guard to travelers? Similarly, are these friendly patrons, these farmers, or are they just wildly racist. And none of these need to be good or good or bad things. They're all interesting. Like, how do the characters react? How does the dwarf party member react if these human farmers are just really, really racist towards them? It's, fun interactions for this what would be a village they just pass through regularly. The wild cards are a bit more interesting. The goofy ones are just unapologetically goofy, because it's fun like that. Ground them in the world. They're not like flying about all over the place like they would say, like, we're from this place and stuff like that. But I would say larger than life personalities over larger than life deeds, just to make them interesting and goofy and fun. And then of course, for the person, obviously I just made a fortune teller off the cuff, and so players get their fortunes read there. And then a bit of backstory of why such a mysterious person is out and about traveling. They're obviously not from around here. So where would they be from, kind of thing. You might just want to do an easy answer. For me, I can create up a believable backstory. For others, it might just be like there's a traveling fortune teller and they don't want to go into their backstory. Or their background, they've left it behind, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the important thing here, so once you have created these NPCs instantly, the next thing is what they would know, and it goes like the regulars there, guards, the farmers, and the women would know the rumors around the town, maybe some things around the capital. It's not too dissimilar to something like Oblivion when you ask for rumors, although you delivered like a human being and not a pre-scripted thing, because there's too many interactions that can occur in a video game. But like they would hear about big events in the capital. They might tell you about small events that are in the village, but it's the talk of the town. And any one of these people can give them. Like, if it was just like a story hook or like a side quest hook that the proprietress or even the mayor would have given to the players, if the players just felt like interacting with like the guards first, it'll be the guards who'll like hint at it and even straight up give them the side quest. Just because it's like, I'll describe it as information that is within the ether. It's not set who knows it, but if it makes sense someone will know it, then I'll give it to them so that players interacting with them will get something out of interacting with them. And then for the wild cards, they would probably know a little bit less about the local stuff, but know a little bit more about world stuff, the traveling mystic, I will call them, might know the happenings over in the towns over yonder because they were just there, or even in the Magic City because they were also over there. The red, white, and blue dragonborns straight up know the goings on in other countries because they're just travelers who go all over the place and can let you know the situations that are going on over there and things like that. And then that's the gist of it, of how I make NPCs, and the same would go for the guild. It would just more like be like the in-town adventures and the out-of-town adventures kind of thing in terms of regulars and whack. Probably like a little less people too, because not super as busy as a tavern. But if I were to recap, I recapped it earlier, but I'll say it again. For big NPCs that characters in the world would know, I would like to know their vibe and their motives, but keep it vague's not the word, but just not specify it so that I can plug in what needs to be plugged in depending on when those characters appear in the story. As for smaller NPCs, I would create the ones and what they would know, just like, their descriptions, their race, what they are, how they would talk, how they would act beforehand, if I know my players are going to talk to them, because obvious, sometimes they don't, but if they're more than likely to. And then when they enter these scenes, I would create the scene right then and there for the characters, depending on where they went, and I would make them a little bit one notes, but they might develop more as the characters talk to them. But they're just like they're basically background, and they develop as the players talk to them, and then they have like the rumors out and about that they can pull from to intrigue the players and like make it feel like the players got something from talking to them. Is how I would generally do it. Newer DMs might need to like write down like systemize it just a bit more, like the rumors in this town are blank blank and blank. They're guaranteed to be told by the innkeeper and the mayor, but then if the players talk to that and there, usually I'm at a point where I don't need to write it down. I just kind of like know who would know what from talking to who, even the wild ones, but that's because I've done this for years and it's gotten to that point. But yeah, that's generally my NPC making process and how to make them. I keep things loose because it's not about the NPCs. If the characters don't care about them, then I don't need to care about them, basically.
Gotcha. For me, I think I put a lot more emphasis on my NPCs, even if the players aren't gonna talk to them. Just so like I can feel like the world is fleshed out on my end, at least. If they ever choose to talk to them, well, they're there. And if they don't, well, someone eventually will. In some campaign. We'll see.
I don't jive too much with that mentality, because it's a little hard to say, but you open yourself to more like inner problems with your DMing if you go, oh well, I'll use this somewhere else. I think it causes less inner problems, like I don't know what to call it. It's like railroading shit, like the inner turmoils of the DM, like knowing yourself, like you'll accidentally gravitate towards these things, toward railroading, although it's not always railroading, but towards certain events because you create these things that you want to use eventually. Like even if that party, that group didn't talk to them, you're more inclined to use that character when the different group appears. Personally, I think it's just fine to be like, throw it away. Oh well.
Yeah, that's fair. I see that perspective.
Yeah. The only thing I wouldn't do is like when you can repurpose dungeons, like if you made a dungeon that was skipped, like just repurpose it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Which is say like don't keep any of the lore stuff, just like the layout and like the traps.
Yep.
Because if
Not
you
even the
have a
creatures, 'cause,
perfectly
like,
good dungeon,
levels
you
are
might
gonna
as well
change.
use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Oh, where'd my notes go? My notes disappeared. No, I need them. Okay, there we go.
I hope I didn't bore too viel. I think I talked for too long for that.
Ah, you're good.
My apologies.
Ooh, okay. So. This is a question that I'm still questioning a lot. And the easy answer is just don't, right? Just don't do this. Realistically, to any DM, especially like newer DMs, my biggest advice is don't do what I'm doing, but you're gonna have a ball with this one. I know that for sure. So, inventing magic system. How much should magic follow rules? What happens when it doesn't? Such as like A more structured magic system would be like Full Metal Alchemist or Avatar, while wild magic is honestly Feywild would be my biggest example for that, like the chaos of magic in the Feywild. Which one do you prefer? How do you go about creating a magic system? Would it be more structural or more haha funny chaos? Let's see what happens.
Well, I prefer structure, honestly, but I would never run it in my games because it just depends. If I were to elaborate, it's I prefer structured magic with set rules, because it's like playing magical detective. Understanding the rules leads you to be able to understand other forms of magic. If you're smart, it's like math.
Yeah.
If you know the numbers, if you know the calculations, you can do it all, and I like that a lot because I like math. So I like having these rules in place. But the reasons I'll never do that is 'cause, like, it's fun for the player or for the DM. It's like,
Not for both.
if I'm the DM and I just like make this magic system for myself, what's the point?
Yeah.
Why even bother with that? It'd be cool if I'm a player and doing that though, but like, it's up for the DM to decide that. So then it would be like if the player wants to do that or if they just want to. Like, so it would be like if I'm going to put it into my campaign, it would be how willing is my magical casters, how willing will they be to like do that? Or is it like too much extra work for someone who just wants to play a wizard,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, or like any spellcaster. That's how it is. If I were to do it preemptively in my campaign, it's sort of like the once again the push and pull of players and DM. I want this to be in my campaign, so I tell the people beforehand magic works like this.
Oh yeah.
Your choice if you want to play a wizard or not. If I am to not just have it be a system for the DM and the DM alone, which I don't think you should ever do, it's going to have to like tie into the story somehow. It's going to be a very magical campaign, and I think that just has its own limitations that I don't much care for in terms of storytelling. Like, do I make martial fighting more interesting as well for the martial people? Do they just kind of take a back seat to like the majority of like what's going on in the story if it's like a magical noir basically for like the spellcaster to like figure out magic's being created and being used?
Yeah. No, like
It just
I'll be
limits
very
the stories
honest.
I would prefer to tell, so I just don't, because it's
I'll
blah.
be very honest.
Mechanically I would like
a
it,
lot.
but mechanics for the DM alone is like not. It's worthless. Don't do it. I will be mean on this because I do think it's like something some DMs will get caught up on these
Yes, 100%.
mechanics that affect only the DM, which I don't think is good.
I'll be very honest. I like the magic system that we have set up in Karael. There's also a lot I regret about it. Simply because there's stories that I can't ever tell in Karael because of the magic system and the way I have it set up. So let me kind of dive into this so like chat knows as well what I'm talking about. So in Karael, magic comes from chaos, something called chaos. Chaos is divided into 3 different aspects, being divine, natural, and arcane. Wizards get their powers from chaos, so do druids, so do paladins, and so do clerics. They just take energy from different parts of chaos. Wizards will take it from arcane, druids will take it from nature, and clerics will take it from the divine part of chaos. And when you're making an Arcana check to understand a certain, let's say, magical circles, layouts, and stuff like that, see if you even understand anything about it, you would do an Arcana check, but it wouldn't be with. It could be with intelligence, but it would be with your main casting class's casting ability. So you would do an Arcana check with Wisdom on a Druid, Charisma on a Sorcerer or Warlock or Bard. Yeah, a lot of Charisma casters, huh?
Yeah, it's majority charisma casters.
Yeah. Paladin. Wow. Okay. Just thinking about it, I was like, oh, there's a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, that's the way we have magic set up in Karael, and I'm just like, I made shit hard on me. Why did I make shit hard on me? It's cool, it's innovative, kinda, but also, first be a good DM and learn to make a good world before you dive into this stuff, Al. Like, what are you doing? Whatever. Yeah.
If I were to rip into you for a bit,
go ahead.
The thing you need to ask yourself is, if your world is limiting the stories you want to tell, why are you telling them in that world?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And the second one is, as a player in your world, the biggest issue with the way you did magic is how not thought out it was, which is what made things very confusing.
Yes.
It wasn't until we had to sit down and like I had to be like, all right,
Yeah,
can we get some rules for this so like I
had to clean up a
understand
lot.
what's happening?
We had to clean up a lot.
And I think it's better when we did that, but I don't know, it's equal
still,
parts.
yeah.
You're limiting yourself, but you're also like not thinking about it enough. Like, I would do it if I want like magic to have. I'll say like the dot system because I think the dot system's cool as fuck. But yours is more lore without a system,
Yes.
so it's. But yeah, it still affects systems, so it's a bit awkward to interact with as a player.
Yeah.
Also, a tendency for you to I don't know, gravitate towards things you see as how it always should be. It's hard to say that, but we'll talk about like once again using reviving people being like a common thing or like a thing that happens, which happens in like most common D&D worlds because they're like that, but yours isn't one that's like that, but
exactly.
still it happened and it got a little weird.
Well, I think we talked about this. I'm not gonna talk about it here again.
Just say no.
Yeah, at that point I was like, I don't want my player to feel bad and leave the campaign. I was like, yeah, you know what, let's do it. And then, once again, this is me. I pigeonholed myself into a stupid corner. And yeah, shit happened.
All right, I'll go in on you just
Go
a little
ahead.
bit more.
Go ahead.
And this is you. I don't know how Alf is, but look inside yourself and actually say if that was truly the reason. Because there's a lot of times during our games where you'd like mention something is like this because it is normally like that. And a lot of the times it does come into conflict with how magic is in your world just because it's different. I feel like, was that just another one of those moments? Or was it really because...
No, the reviving part is exactly what I talked about. Magic,
All right.
magic, as you said, it was very uncertain, and I'm still trying to figure that shit out, I'm not gonna lie. But that part was me just being like, I don't want anyone leaving the session with like low energy and like not want to play D&D again. So, because I like D&D and I like when I have people who like to play D&D. I don't want to. I don't want people
Fair
to
enough,
have a
fair
bad
enough.
D&D experience, basically. But yeah. Also, we talk about like sessions after the session ends as well. Honestly, feel free to like shoot back and be like, hey, you said this, but in your world magic works like this. Was this a mistake? And if it was, we can
I mean,
talk
I
about
do.
it.
It usually happens in
Yeah.
the session because like I don't understand it in the session, so I like
Yep.
need the clarifications.
Yep. I feel like most of the time I'm able to give you a good reason as to how it works within the system of the world. And if I can't, then we try to figure out why it works the way it works in the world
Yeah.
mid-session.
Those end up taking some time though, so it's,
Yeah, it takes people out of the story, I get that. But I
That's a
mean,
lot of the stories. Like, people are here for a limited amount of time, and if 30
oh
minutes are
yeah,
meant explaining a system, then it's like,
yeah. I feel like I have to eventually write down all of the details of the magical system, especially before the summer campaign.
well, it's just like, how do you want it to, like, it's fine if it's just a lore thing, but you also want it to affect things mechanically, but
Well, the main part
haven't
I
gone
wanted
into it.
to...
But if you go into everything mechanically, it's honestly too much.
No, I don't want it to go into everything mechanically. So, for those who don't know, chaos in my world is feelable by players who are casters, but they're only able to feel parts of chaos that they're able to understand and take energy from. Which is where the Arcana checks come in. And that is really the only part I wanted to affect mechanically. Just the Arcana checks, and like we even did the Arcana checks in a way where it makes sense per class, where it's like nature's these classes are nature casters, these classes are arcane casters, these classes are divine casters. And we were able to separate them well, and each class, regardless of the separation, like for example, bards make an arcana check with their charisma on nature, not even spells, but like nature energy that was left behind due to a spell's residue, while druids do the exact same casting, except they use an arcana check with wisdom. And that's like the main difference between those two. And I feel like that's the entire mechanic right there. That's all I've added to my magical... I think. I don't think I've added anything else. If I have, remind me. I don't think I've added anything else.
Well, the thing about that is that now every single magical spell has a classification. Every single magic effect has a classification.
Yeah.
Which, you're not prepared for when someone has a question.
It's more so... I choose the caster who casted the spell, because the caster who cast the spell, regardless of it being transmutation, necromancy, or whatever the spell is itself, is still using either arcana, nature, or divine. And that becomes the nature of that spell. So a Revivify cast by a cleric would be divine in nature, while it's cast by a wizard would be arcane in nature. That is literally the entirety of this that I have made. My question now becomes, do you think we should go into like each spell separately at a later, by we, I mean me, at a separate time, and just be like, This spell is this nature. This spell is this nature.
The work's not worth it.
I don't think it's worth it.
I'll be 100% real with you. I don't
I
think
can-
any of it's worth it because it doesn't add anything to the anything. Sorry.
It really doesn't. It, this we talked about this before. This was a concept we came up with my previous DM Umut, and this was like my first time DMing. And it was in Karael, and well, this was before Karael was even called Karael, because Karael, the name of the continent, comes from his character's name, Karael Pix. He is the creator of the founding emperor of the Pixian Empire, and the hero whose name is given to the continent. And I think it was somewhere halfway through the story where we realized, well, he's a wizard who did not take detect magic. Shit. I have not given him detect magic scrolls either. Why did I make a puzzle that has detect magic? So then we came up with this system, but it was much more crude, as you know. And I was like, you know what? I kind of like this system. I kind of want to keep it. And I kept it. I don't know if it was good. It's not good. It really doesn't achieve anything besides a very crude version of detect magic where you're able to tell if something was arcane or not, which is kind of like, you know? I might just scrap the whole magic system. I'm not
Certainly a way to do it. It's whatever you want, remember, just it's your world, you do what you want. I will say once
like
again
the
though,
lore
remember,
part.
systems only for the DM is
Yeah. No, I like the
not
lore
good.
part of like chaos and chaos dividing these magics. Because in lore that makes sense. It's just I don't have to have magic be sensible by every caster. I can just get rid of the mechanical aspect of it and just keep the lore aspect. And I feel like it'll be fun.
Yeah, completely.
Like, yeah. Honestly, yeah, I might just scrap anything mechanical because, as we talked about, it really doesn't do anything extra. And the
It
only
only
part,
causes confusion because someone has to
Yeah.
ask a lot of questions about
yeah,
certain things that they quote unquote sense around any sort of anomalous effect.
yes, and it's like, and then it's every caster doing an Arcana check, going, "Do I sense something?" And it's like, eh. Okay, now we're stuck here 15 minutes, every caster going one by one. Okay, this is what I rolled. Do I cast something? I'm just going there going, no, none of your clerics, so no. And like, eventually, even the players are like, okay, this is clearly divine magic. It does, like, the players know what it is, even if the characters don't.
There's three types of magic, and one player knows arcane, the other player knows nature. So if it's not any of those two, it can only be one thing.
Yep. So it's like, yeah, just honestly, just get rid of it mechanically. Just keep it lore, and I feel like I'll be fine. And it'll be so much easier. Everything will be so much easier. Just have. If you want to detect magic, take detect magic. If not, it is what it is. If none of you took it before making puzzles, I'll have to check your character sheet. It's that simple. Whatever.
Yeah, well, honestly, first of all, a puzzle on a person having a specific spell and not checking if they have that spell or not is bad DMing. So I think the thing you do after that is just make the puzzle different in theirs. Don't create this weird system. Just make it work with a different spell.
my friend was too drunk to be able to think of anything, and I was too new at D&D. I still consider myself new at DMing and D&D in general. Like, I don't think I've DM'd over... I've DM'd over 100 hours. I don't think I've DM'd over 1,000 hours. No, I definitely have not. Okay. Have I DM'd over 100 hours? Wait. Let's say every session is like 3 or 4 hours. I might have played Tekken more than I have DM'd, and that is crazy now that I'm thinking about it. Well, it is what it is. Alright. Any questions?
Let's see. We'll bring things back down, just what people like. We've done a lot of these already. So I want to know if anyone has like the custom class, if you know what I mean. The class that doesn't exist but you want to exist.
I have one.
What's up?
A good ranger.
Oh, whoa. Wasn't expecting that one. Wild.
Crazy, huh? I think I would like an actual Gish class.
I think that already exists in 2024.
That's not the Paladin?
I think they did the Eldritch Knights does it quite well.
No, that's a subclass. I'm thinking like full class.
It's, for me, that gets the point in Mystic, in terms of full class rather than just archetype, where how much could it be?
Oh, that's fair, actually.
More.
That's fair.
Because if it is like just a fighter who can cast spells, that is what the Eldritch Knight is. Now that it's no longer locked to specific spells.
Yeah.
I mean, you could still do it, but I feel like it's not like in 2024 or 2014 5th edition. I do think there was like a gap for a true Gish, just because there was so much limitations for things like that. But I just don't think that's the case anymore. It could be better, like they could be more intertwined, but like it's taking small steps rather than like, you know, the big step was already taken in terms of the archetype.
100%. Honestly, thinking about it, anything I think of is either a subclass or just exists within D&D, and like you can do it either to roleplay or to just picking a subclass, because I'm like, I like sights. Well, no, that's just Polearm Master. Never mind. What can I get? Fire Punch. Oh, nope, that's Monk. Elemental shit. How about a Pokemon Trainer? Well, multiple ways to do that, including Heliana's Guide's Tamer class. Oh, I like guns. Well, you can kind of go Ranger. You can... The Gunner class is also coming out with Zamans. Ooh, a Psychic. There's way too many subclasses for that.
Well, that was the Mystic. They had to be like, this shouldn't be its own class, and then they just distribute it for subclasses.
Yep. And I'm like anything I can think of either exists, will exist, or no, that's the only two routes. Yeah, exist or will exist in D&D. And it's dry. Like I can't think of anything. Wow, is my brain really that rotted where I can't think of anything new? Jedi. No, that's just the fighter. Just lightsaber.
My warrior is that's what that is.
Yeah, exactly. If I say like a rider, that's just cavalry. Also, that's just paladin, because apparently paladins get...
Yeah, paladins get horses for free.
For some reason.
a really weird class identity thing, but sure, question mark.
Right? And then let's say Dragon Tamer. Oh, no, that's Purple Dragon Knight. Drake Tamer? Nope, that's just Drake Warden Ranger. It doesn't exist in 2024, but it exists in 5e. Any sort of pet tamer is basically just you can go Ranger. Heck, and like the new Artifice, I was gonna say Iron Man, but like the new Artificer also does that. I don't know. I actually don't know. I'm stuck. Do you have a class in mind?
I have a class in mind while you're thinking that. I was thinking of things that don't exist yet, and I have a few of those. First one is one of my favorite class of all time, good old Skald, the Barbarian from Pathfinder 1e. A way to be a supportive, like the true mix between Bard and Barbarian, where you inspire people with like barbarian stuff. The only issue is that it can't exist as an archetype easily, because you would need your own systems to enable that for it to work. Whole class systems. And in D&D, how bards work and how barbarians work are two, I wouldn't say different, but like powerful by themselves to like do that. Like barbarians are cracked in terms of what they can do, so like giving any barbarian ability to
any class is
like allies is a bit rough, so it would have to like be its entirely own thing.
Imagine giving your whole
or just not exist. Just because of the differences in the Pathfinder systems and the Dungeons and Dragons systems. Which is unfortunate. Honestly, some sort of like AoE buffing class or just like subclass or anything kind of like does not exist.
Yeah.
It's like a few spells and that's that. As for things that like I sort of recognize that D&D has a lack of, one of the big ones I do think of is this one actually could be a subclass, and you could say like subclasses too, in terms of things that need to exist. But an actual brawler class, which would be like an unarmed fighter class.
An unarmed fighter? Isn't...
It's because of...
This
like, you know, you're untrained, so like why, like monk key points, focus points isn't like what you're going for. Okay. You're just hitting things a bunch of times. But you still need like the monk stuff. You know, like more of like Street Fighter, because Barbarian's just all about rage. Barbarian could do it technically, but it's like its own thing. You know, like unfocused, just like not trained fighting, just street fighting.
So strength
not
fighter
like
with
key focus or anything.
Sort of thing.
But like you would still need like the unarmored stuff.
Ooh,
you might still even need the martial arts stuff to use dex and stuff like that. There's just like...
Honestly, when you say brawler, right, my head immediately goes, it doesn't need unarmored. Just give it like medium armor and watch it punch its way through.
But that's still like not the thing. Like if you get into a street fight, you're not just like always in like your super leather or your hide or whatnot.
Yeah, that's also true.
If you're the boxer character, it like has to be flavored monk. But then you're like, how are you like doing like the like you basically be gimping yourself, because like my character wouldn't like do all this like acrobatic shit.
Yeah.
Or like this key shit. So it would just be like you wouldn't do it, or like you'd... it would be like weird. It would just be like, how'd you do that? Because... kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it all just needs to be as a fighter archetype. It's like almost there, because there's some decent basic features they can get at level 4, but like it's still just missing stuff to like make it usable.
Mhm, mhm. Oh, I have an idea. This is something that I was trying to make Ezart, and I have realized that it was possible, but also kind of mechanically not there. Is the Weapon Master, where you are just carrying tens, if not more, weapons on you, of like all different types, from like pole arms to swords to short sword. You have a board. Sometimes you don't have a board. You have your bows, your crossbows, everything on you. And fighter and ranger gives you proficiency in all of those. And with the new system of weapon mastery, I feel like a full weapon master class could be like really cool. Where perhaps going through your weapons could give you a tactical advantage in some way. I don't know. Well, realistically, like in a one-on-one fight, you would use your pole arms and your ranged weapons to keep them away, and if they come close, take out that board, take out that sword, and start fighting. But I'd love to see it as a class, just something that really specializes in every weapon, not just a single, or like even.
I'll say it. That exists. That's just the fighter. That's how I played every single fighter I've ever played.
Yeah.
Even before 2024, where they didn't get like these differences, there was enough differences to warrant carrying every single weapon. And the reason for that was feats. You would get feats that help you with specific weapons, and then fighter is the best at that because they get more feats than everybody else. They just get all the weapon feats. And you would shoot your bow whenever they were far away. If they were going to get close to you, you bring out the polearm so you can be defensive as a Pam sent. And if you want to focus on damage, you pull out either the great weapon or your two weapons for two-weapon fighting. And this is a personal thing, because you can't do this. Since shields are armor, it does take 10 minutes to doff and don, so you can't easily switch to sword and board, but my DM allowed it.
Wait,
for my
shields
character.
take how long to doff on?
10 minutes, right? Because it's technically armor.
There is no way. You might be correct, but if that's because I've never done that either. My DM allowed me to be like, okay, I drop my bow and I pick up my shield and short sword, and he was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. You need.
I mean, sure, that's what I asked for my GMs too, but do know that it's unless they changed it in 2024 rules.
I have to check right now. How long does it take to equip a shield? Let's see. D&D 5e. Player's Handbook, page 146. It takes one action to don or doff a shield.
Oh, sick.
Yep. They fixed it. But it does take an action
I will
and
say
not a free action or a
good.
bonus action, yeah.
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 It would effectively take your entire turn just to get
Yep.
into the shield build.
Yep. If you're Hollow Warden, it can make sense because you would have infinite AC, but yeah, I guess it's just the fighter, isn't it? I'm looking at it because you get 6 feats and an epic boon on top of that as you're leveling up. You also get like 6 weapon masteries at level 16, which is where you get your 6th feat, by the way. So it's like, yeah, that's just the fighter. You can just play the fighter like that. You're right.
What else? I feel like there was one that we're missing. It's the brawler type. I talked about Scald.
Yes.
I was thinking about it earlier, but I forgot. So I had a third one. Oh well, guess I'll never know.
Okay, so we have a lot of neutral classes, a lot of good classes, a lot of clearly meant to be played almost evil classes. Amongst them, I only see one class that is like you're meant to have fun even in fights with this class, which is kind of like the bard. The bards in my head is supposed to be like, how do I say this? Almost comedic. You don't have to play them like that.
Boo, boring. All my bards are super serious people.
But I'd like another class that could be like fun, per se. Cause like you have Warlock and the Rogue as like the edgy guys, and you have the Paladin and the Cleric.
Well, any class can be whatever you want it to be.
But
like any class can have the fun in combat.
No, for sure, but I can't like be playing a barbarian and like make a joke mid-fight and like that affects the combat, you know? Where bards, it's like their whole thing.
I mean, 2014. It's not investigator rogue. It was a rogue archetype.
2014.
Captain. Oh, the one where like you can talk and like buff people up. Or once again, you know, the words you speak are helpful in combat. But the way you're describing it, like it's a bard. That class exists. It's a bard.
Yeah, but like something other than a bard. I'd like to see a new take on
what
it.
is the other thing?
I don't know. That's exactly what I'd like to see, a new take on it. Because I have no idea what it'd be.
Sure.
No, as I said, anything I can think of has already been done. So it's either been done in D&D or it's a Pathfinder class.
Also, theoretically, any spellcaster can like be the things you say affect stuff. Vocal components, you say "fuck you" and then they die.
Yeah, I cast Fireball. My verbal incantation is "fuck you." I didn't ask how large the room was. I said I cast Fireball.
Yeah, classic meme.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's Inquisitive. Is it the Mastermind?
It's the Mastermind, yeah.
Okay.
That's what it was.
Ooh, I will say this. I like the fact that they added Illrigger to D&D Beyond. Illrigger's like, it is Paladin but Warlock, and I enjoy it. I'm enjoying it a lot. Which is why I also couldn't say that because Illrigger exists, and I'm like, well, guns. Well,
I mean,
no,
it doesn't technically exist. Guns also don't technically exist, but also just flavor your freaking crossbows. It's not that hard.
Oh no, guns exist in D&D.
2024 edition. I thought they took those out.
I don't know if they took it out because Artificer's coming. It might be in the new books.
Oh yeah, Artificer has a gun. That's right.
Yeah. And I think guns exist in 2024, even before the Artificer coming out. But I might be this I might just be pulling out of my ass. So genuine no idea.
I don't recall the gunner feats being in the 2024.
They might not have
edition.
added the feats
yet. They could be wrong.
Because we are still very early on in 2024. Like, not a lot of books have come out. We'll see. I will say this. A lot of people are either hating on D&D, hating on 2024 because they don't like Hasbro, and you're free to not like Hasbro and their actions for sure. I kind of like the direction that 2024 is kind of going in, both as a player and as a DM. First of all, weapon masteries, cool shit. And if you don't agree, you can fight with me on that. I really love weapon masteries. I think all the classes got cool stuff for the most part. I'm not looking at Ranger. And some new original subclasses are coming out. Now I'm looking at you, Ranger, which also gets me very excited again. I don't know. I feel weirdly hopeful and excited is all I can say.
I don't know, I'm net neutral. I read all the rules. It as many step forwards, there's like a step back that's weird, so like a side grade.
Yeah, that's fair, very fair. But yeah, we'll have to see how it goes. I'm liking 2024 so far. I do understand people who don't like it for the reasons they don't like it. That's fine. Personally, I'm enjoying it. Oh,
I mean, yeah, I prefer it over 2014.
yeah. Alright, last question from me for today. Let me see if I can find the question first. Okay, so we talked about creating towns, we talked about creating cities, right? Let's go to... We talked about the core themes we like, and we both like high magic. Let's go to high magic. So this is going to be something very simple I'm going to ask, but it's also going to explain a lot of... And you're going to understand why. So, what happens to your... Not just your... what happens to trash in your magical world?
What happens to trash?
Yeah.
Normally everything is just recycled or reused or mulched because there's like, plastics don't exist, so
Yeah. So is it just golems
there's no
made
like
of
things
junk?
that stay. I mean, a regular family would in just in the regular feudal-ish world of medievalness would reuse everything they have. And most things they have is biodegradable anyway, so it would go into a hole, if not into the farm that they're using.
Gotcha. Okay. Because I think this is kind of like a fun way to look at it. Because it's like, it's silly. It's a silly question at first, but it opens up ideas on infrastructures within your cities. How
I mean, big cities
progressed...
do have custodians. There would be like garbage and stuff, but they would be going over to like recycling. Like there would be like
Yes.
glassware, metalware, and custodians would take those over to ironworking areas and glassworking areas.
As I was gonna say, it also shows how far along progressed your world is technologically, because you, for high magic, everything is still recyclable. But if we go into like steampunk, we're getting golems made out of junk that was kind of like thrown to the side by kind of like perhaps new wizards who are learning the arts of golem making, and they aren't able to afford stuff, so they're going to junkyards and getting their materials from there, which I feel like it's fun. It's fun to think about. It's a weird question, but I think it also shows a lot about your world, and like the world that you're making.
You know what? If I were to push back, I'll just say the thing I've said before. If the players don't care, then I don't think the DM should care either. If like, I don't know, I don't think I've ever had a trash system in any of my campaigns, and my players never asked.
Oh, no, this
So
isn't like a trash
I
system.
think that's fine.
Never make a system for that. Jesus Christ, that's not horrible.
Or like, you know, how the garbage works. Like I never even like thought of like custodians or you know, like where does like a broken bottle go when someone sweeps it up? And the answer is, if the players don't care, then I'm not going to care either.
Yeah, I feel like it's
It
fun
doesn't
to think
matter.
about. In high fantasy, I do agree it doesn't matter, but like when you're going into more like modern stuff, even just thinking about it just a little bit can, I feel, enrich your world quite a bit. But this is my personal take, so take it with every grain of salt. And yeah. Do you have any questions before we send people off?
One more thing I wanted to talk about, but it's like going to be a long one, so I don't think.
Oh, you're good.
I think maybe we just save it for later.
Would you like to save it, or would you like to talk about it? No, I'm good either
I know
way.
you feel like you're ready to like head off, so I think we just save it for later.
Yeah, I'm just like I'm trying to keep it to like 2 hours if possible.
Yeah, no worries.
All right. Well, with that, let me find it. Did I pass it? I think I passed it. There we go. And so the lantern dims, but the spark it lit will keep burning. Thank you for joining us around the fire, traveler. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep building, and let your world shine brighter than ever. We'll see you beneath the lantern's light next week. Goodbye, everyone!
Goodbye, goodbye.